Hi creators, I'm Jennifer. You're welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to draft a off-shoulder to bustier. So now, as you can see, I folded my paper into two. Now we are going to determine the depth of our neck, our off-shoulder depth. I'm using 5 inches for this. You can go as low as 6 or 7 inches if you want it to be that low, but I think 5 is okay. So from there, I'm going to extend my tape to 5 inches and get my vertical measurement. I'm using the bust point, the under bust, the waistline, and the sewing allowance. Now, to determine the width of your fabric, you have to measure your bust, which is the largest part of the top. So I'm using 35 for the bust and divide it by 4. Add 3 inches for the dart allowance and sewing allowance. Alright. So now I'm going to mark the vertical measurement into a straight line. So that's the bust point. Make it into a straight line. The bust point, the under bust, the waist or rather half length, and the sewing allowance. So now I'm going to get my chest line. To get the chest line, I'm going to go 2 inches above the bust points. Remember, the bust point I'm using is 10 inches. The 2 inches above it will be 8. Alright, so I'm going to mark it there and make it into a straight line, like so. So that's my chest line. So I go ahead and label it. That's the chest line, the bust point, the under bust, and the waistline. That's the allowance. Alright. Now I'll go ahead to get my nipple to nipple measurement. To get your nipple to nipple measurement, you divide it by 2. My own is 8. I divide it by 2, which is 4 inches, and I add half an inch for sewing allowance, making it 4.5. So I'll go right to the bust point and mark the 4.5 right there. Then I also go up to the chest line, mark the 4.5. Then down to the under bust, I take the same 4.5 inches there. Right, do the same at the waist. Do the same at the waist and the allowance. If your top is extending to the hip, you can also mark it down to the hip. So I'll go ahead and make it into a straight line. Okay. Make it into a straight line. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe. I really appreciate that, and also share. Thank you so much. So now, to get a perfect bustier, you have to divide your bust point minus the bust point from the under bust. That means the circumference of the bust point and the circumference of the under bust, you minus it together. And let me illustrate it well. This is the bust point minus the under bust. Remember, the bust point I'm using is 35 inches minus 31. That's my under bust is 31. So the difference there is 4 inches, right? Then you hope you understand that. Then you divide this 4 inches by 2, which will give me 2. Then you also divide these 2 inches by 2, which will also give me 1, right? So this divided by 2, 2 divided by 2 will give me 1. Ignore that one I wrote there. So if you are using 3 inches, you also do the same. The difference between the under bust and the bust point is 3. You also use the same method, right? So now I'm going to mark it right there. Okay. I hope you understand that little arithmetic. So I'm going to mark it I'm going to use 2 inches and 1 inches for the darts. I'm going to mark 2 inches at the right and 1 inch at the left side. Just watch how I'm doing. So then I'm going to mark my 1 inches here. Okay, then on the other side I'm going to mark 2 inches, making a total of 3 inches. Okay, yeah. So now I'll also do the same at the chest line. Also do the same at the chest line. Mark the 1 inches on this side. I'm going to mark 1 inch on this side and 2 inches on the other side. Okay, now the next step I'm going to do is to connect it to the bust point. I'm going to connect it to the bust point with my curve rule. I connect the 1 inches and mark that side to the bust point, and also the other side I connect it to the bust point. Remember, I mark this dart at the under bust and on the chest line, and also connect them to the bust point. Right, so now I'm connecting it rightly. Just make sure you place your curve rule well to get that curve. So I also do the same at the chest line. Connect those marks on the chest line to the bust point, like so. Yeah, you place it well. All right, and also do the same at the other side. I'm trying to place the curve very well. You know, they don't have the same number. So now go ahead to blend it to be curvy. Okay, so you can see our cup is forming gradually. So now I'm going to get my armhole. Remember, we extend this line by 5 inches, so we're also going to extend it by 5 inches to get the armhole. The armhole I'm using is 8.5 inches. I'm going to mark it there. All right, so but before I get that, I want to get my horizontal measurement to know where to place the armhole. So remember, the bust part I'm using is 35 inches plus the 3 inches allowance. That 35 divided by 4, it will give me 8.7, but I'm going to make it 9 inches plus 3 inches allowance, which is 12 inches. Okay, 12 inches. That's 9 plus 3 is giving me 12 plus 1 inch allowance. Okay, I'm going to mark it right there. All right, so I'll do the same at the under bust. The under bust I'm using is 31. 31 divided by 4 will give me, I just use 8 there, so plus 3 inches, that which is 11 plus 1 inch. I'm going to mark it there. Right, so I'm going ahead to connect it. I'll go ahead to connect the line. Connect it down to the waist. Now I'll mark my armhole. Remember, I extend this tape by 5 inches. Make no mistake about that. Extend your tape and then get your 8.5 inch for the armhole. So I'll connect it from the dart line to the armhole. Okay, let me just trace it. You can use your ruler to get this line. Okay. Okay. So now that's the our armhole. But for the chest neckline, you can leave it straight like this, or you can make a dip, or depending, this totally optional, but I'm going to go down by 1 inch from the neckline. I want to create a little neckline there, then also connect it from the dart like so. Okay, So that's for the neckline. Let me blend it a bit with curve rule. I totally forgot that I have a curve rule here. That's why I'm using freehand. But it's okay. You can use freehand, you can use your curve. Alright. Let me leave this one like this. Alright. So now that's our two bustier. Please kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell. So I'll go ahead to extend the line and cut it. Go ahead and notch it. As I say, I've notched it. So let me pin it together so you can see how it is formed. So look at our so lovely. So now to the back side. The back side will be lower than the front side. So I'm starting from the chest line. Remember the chest line I used there is 8 inches. That's 10 inches above the bust point. So I'm using 8 inches from the back, extend 8 inches, then get my vertical measurement here. So the vertical measurement I need there is the chest line, the waist, and the sewing allowance. Remember the half length I use is 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and make it into a straight line. Okay, then that's the sewing allowance. Now I'm going to get my zipper allowance. I'm using 2 inches. I'm out 2 inches on the chest line, 2 inches on the half length and the sewing allowance. Now make it into a straight line like so. And that's my zipper allowance. Okay, so now I'll get my nipple to nipple measurement, 4.5 inches. I'll mark it there, 4.5 inches, and also mark it on the chest line. So also make it into a straight line like so. Okay, so from the half length line, or rather the waistline, I'll get 0.5 inches on both sides, half inches on both sides, and then connect to the chest line. Please kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you. So I'll mark it and mark it to the to the chest line. All right. Then that's my dart for the back. So to get my horizontal measurements, I need to fold the zipper allowance so that I'll not include that. That's for beginners. So starting from the zipper allowance, I'll get my waist measurement plus the 1 inch dart sewing allowance. Then I connect it to the chest line and down to the sewing allowance. Okay, so that's the chest line, the waist, and the sewing allowance. All right, so I also get my neckline. You can leave if you can leave it like this, or you can get the neckline, depends, it's totally optional, but I get down for 2 inches for the neckline and connect it. Okay, so I'll also get the armhole, 8.5 inches for the armhole. Remember I start this with 8, so I just marked 0.5 inch for the armhole, making it 8.5. So I'll connect it to the dart line. That's basically all for the back side of this off shoulder two bustier. Okay, go ahead and cut it. Okay, so can you see it's already formed? All right, please kindly subscribe and share. I really appreciate it, and feel free to give me a thumbs up if you find this video useful. Okay, so that's our back side and the front side of our two bustier. Okay. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye, see you in my next video.